Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Dallas, aka Infurness, and welcome back to another episode of TheTekkitRealm. Today we're doing something different. We're gonna be doing, it's actually nighttime when I'm recording this. That's funny, right? And we're going to be doing a life story. It's so stupid. I'm not even gonna. It's just a story of something that happened to me. And obviously, since it's a story, it's a bad situation, otherwise it wouldn't be relevant, because all bad situations make good stories in the future. Anyways, yeah, I felt like it, I don't know, I wanted to share this. It's kind of interesting. And yeah, so I'm not the type of YouTuber who wants to turn into Leafy is here, or I don't know if you guys know who Luna is, but yeah, that's what this type of video is. So what happens is, this story takes place, it's kind of a scary situation. It takes place in 9th grade, right? Okay, so in 9th grade, I'm not sure if other schools did this, we went on a field trip. The end. No, but we went on a field trip, and basically, it was at the beginning of the year, and what it was meant to do was help us to meet new people, right? The people, because it's a brand new school, we want to meet people, and that's the point of this field trip. And yeah, it was a good idea. I think it was actually a good idea to do this. But the only thing is, instead of taking us to like a rec room or like a party place, just hanging out there, no, they drive us 90 freaking minutes up into Big Bear or someplace in the middle of the freaking forest. I don't even know what it's called. And they just make us spend the nights. It's called the overnighter. It was called, that's what it was called. And they make us spend the nights in this camp. Okay? And so yeah, we drive 90 minutes up into Big Bear, and it's 2 days. It's the overnighter. We spend an entire night there, obviously, you know, thus the name overnighter. And yeah, it was meant so we could just like break in our new classmates. That sounds so weird, break in our new classmates. But yeah, so that's what it's meant to do. And it's weird because this is like freaking October, so we've already met each other. We're basically all friends. We don't even need this, but you know what? Sure, why not? So that's what we do. So we arrive at the camp, right? And the camp is basically this long plot of land. Kind of like, it's like an opening in the forest. There's big, thick pine wood forest. Like, and it's in the mountains. Imagine like mountains and then just kind of like this opening, this kind of like protrusion in the mountains, and then surrounded by forest, and there's this long plot of land with houses or kind of like buildings built on it. And there's 2 buildings for the gate. There's kind of like 2 buildings that are set right next to each other, and then connecting them is kind of like this gate thing, and that's the opening to the long plot of land with smaller cabins built on that land. And that's what the camp was. And this is all surrounded by forest, right? Alright, so we're at the camp. My whole 9th grade, it's just 9th grade and a few 11th grade people who help out. I don't know, they had those people at my school. And so we're at the auditorium, and the auditorium is kind of like in the middle of the camp. Not in the middle of it, but it's kind of like the stadium part is kind of like built protruding into the forest, and the stage is kind of like more into the camp. So like when the actual like stadium where you sit is like up on the hill into the going into the forest, and you're looking down into the camp, sort of where the stage is, and that's kind of like built on the side, but like, yeah, on the side of the camp. And yeah, so we're sitting there, and all the 9th grade is sitting there, and this is where we get our cabin buddies. So I'm not gonna be naming actual names, so I'm just gonna be making up something. So I get a cabin with my friend Evan, and there's 2 sides to each cabin building, and each side has their own set of bunk beds, and there was like 5 people in my cabin, but there's 10 people in total because there's 2 sides. So 5 people in my cabin, but Evan is the only relevant person for this story. So Evan, we're like, okay, yeah, I mean, I wasn't sitting near him, so I didn't like do anything. I was like, okay, so I go to my cabin right after everyone's done getting their cabin buddies, and we go to our cabins. And after I'm at my cabin, I'm meeting. I mean, I've seen Evan before. He's my friend, but I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going, man? Looks like we're gonna stay here for a while. And then we're like, yeah. We start like, really, this is where we kind of really got to know each other, and we start bonding and having a lot of fun. And there's other people in that cabin, but you know, they're not really relevant to the story, to the actual thing. So yeah, don't feel the need to mention them. We're just having a blast, being really annoying. We're screaming, yelling, getting high off sugar, and just being dicks because we're just screaming, literally. And like, it's night, or it's kind of like night, and people are settling down a little bit right after we've done all we did all kinds of activities and stuff during that day. Let's just skip kind of like the time where it's kind of dark, right? And people are kind of settling down, right? We're just being absolute dicks. We're like freaking screaming, so, you know, we're watching porn. We're just loudly singing songs, being annoying. Even our own other side of the cabin was walking in like, shut the hell up, bitch. And it was terrible. Multiple teachers came in at one point, and we're just messing around with them, prank calling people. That was the best. I remember prank calling people. Oh my god, we prank called so many people. We prank called, okay, this is way off topic, but we prank called Burger King and McDonald's, and we got them into a fight. Like, we said, Burger King, this is McDonald's, and we said something mean about them, and then we went to McDonald's and said, hey, McDonald's, this is Burger King, and we said something mean about them, and then they called each other up, and then they were all mean, they were all fighting each other, McDonald's manager and the Burger King manager. It was just hilarious. And we're all doing this, just listening to all of this up in Big Bear in some random cabin. So we weren't really scared of any cops coming, so yeah. But anyways, moving on, it's nighttime, right? And it's getting to the point where we're like, okay, when are we gonna go to bed? It doesn't really matter because none of us are tired. We all feel like we're gonna stay up in the middle of the night and just keep screaming like assholes. Because, yeah, we were just making a lot of noise and everyone was getting pissed at us. But yeah, we were great friends, as you can tell already. It's only been a couple hours after spending time with Evan, and it's time to have a party. All right, just kind of like the final party of the night. Kind of like, we're all ready to go to bed because we've already ruined our voice boxes, and we're just ready to go to bed. And Evan's like, all right, let's just get ready. We're already getting ready to go to bed already, and everyone's like, wait, what are you doing? There's still a party. And I'm just like, what, there's a party? And yeah, and we look outside of our cabin, the other side of the cabin, building. The other 5 people aren't there, and most of the people in our own cabin, all the 5 people in our cabin are gone too. And some of the 11th grade advisors go up to us and they're like, hey, there's a party, and we're like, me and Evan are the only ones in the cabin at this point, and we're like, we don't want to go. All right, it's freaking 9 o'clock. We just want to do nothing. And then there, I think there was one 11th grader and one 10th grader who was there, who was an advisor, and they're getting mad at Evan because Evan got held back, and he's supposed to be in 10th grade. So the person who is in 10th grade, who's with the other 11th grader, who's an advisor, is getting all mad at Evan. He's like, Evan, you have to do this. You have to go to the party. They gave you a second chance. And Evan's just completely refusing. He's like, no, I don't want to do this. And I'm just like, fine, I'll go. And then they're like, yeah, good job, buddy. Thanks for participating. Thanks for having that school spirit. And Evan's just staying there. I'm just like, okay, bye, Evan. I'm going to go to the party, and I'm going to come back later. And he's like, okay. So I go to this party. It's in the rec room, right? Near the gate of the camp. There's like 100 people. Not only our entire grade, but like everyone there. Just everyone who's at the camp is in that one room partying it up like shit. And I'm just like, what the hell? It's loud as freak. There's lights going all over the place. There's beatboxes. I can't handle it, alright? I'm just like, this is bullshit. I don't like this. There's 100 people in this fucking rec room that's just partying, and normally I wouldn't mind, but it's just ridiculous. And yeah, so I end up just going outside, and there's no one outside. Like, I'm just sitting on the steps. Alright, all I see in front of me is just wilderness, because that's it, it's just wilderness. In front of me, just the, kind of like the foothills, and it's just the forest line. And, Evan comes and sits next to me, and, sorry. uh, he comes and he's like, and I'm like, oh, you showed up. And Evan's like, yeah, I just decided, I mean, he said he heard like a sound in his room, like a clapping sound or something, and he got scared because he's the only one in the cabin. And at this point, I'm like, what a fucking pussy. Seriously, like, what a pussy. Like, freaking 10th grader, or supposed to be 10th grader. Anyways, he sits next to me. Now we're both kind of like the only ones sitting out here. Everyone else, like literally everyone in the entire camp is in that one room, which is like maybe like 30 feet to our left, and we could hear the sounds from outside. And it's cold, and it's crazy cold. And then we're just sitting there, and we're not really talking that much. And all that's in front of us is, and to the right side of us, is the force line. I start getting this really, really strange feeling. Like, really strange. Like, there is something watching us. To the right. And I'm just looking over to the right, and all I see is forest. And I'm like, there's something there. Like, there is something that is just watching us. And I look over to Evan just to tell him, or, you know, just like, hey dude. He's looking in the exact same direction as I feel that something is there. I'm just like, hey, do you feel that too? And he's like, yeah, bro, I feel that. And there's some there's some over there. And I'm just like, yeah, bro, what the hell is that? And like, we feel it. We don't see it, anything, or we don't hear or smell anything. We just feel eyes on our faces coming from over there. We couldn't see any eye shine or anything, but that's what we feel. And at this point, we're kind of getting a little bit freaked out. We don't know what to think, so yeah. And I'm just like, dude, what's going on here? Like, it definitely feels like there is something watching us. And, Evan is just, he's not one to be ignorant about the forest, okay? He's been in the, he's not been in the army, but he's an airsofter, okay? He does airsoft guns. He knows stuff about the forest, and he knows about animals and stuff and nature, and he knows the behavior of some animals and how they may spy on humans, and he knows this stuff. He's not one to be ignorant about this type of stuff, and he's basically like, okay, just, it's probably just an animal or something. There's no bears up here. I mean, there are bears, but they wouldn't come this close to civilization, especially not when there's like a huge party, you know. Like, there's literally loud sounds coming from the building right next to us. You could feel the vibrations. And we look over into the window, and we're like, you know what? Yeah, this is uncomfortable. I'm feeling like this is getting me nauseous. Like, I don't feel safe right now. So we're just like, okay, we'll go back and see what it's like in there. So I'm just like, okay. So I'm trying to plant a visual picture for you guys, like in your heads, like what the camp actually looks like. There's two buildings. Let's say you're looking into the camp, all right, from the outside, from the gates, and there's a building on the right, and that's the rec room, and then there's a building on the left, and I don't exactly know what that room was meant for, but it was like this other building. It was a little bit smaller, and then there's the gate, like, that's connecting them, and the gate has the steps, and we're sitting on the other side of the steps, on the outside of the camp, right? And that's where we're just sitting there staring into the forest line, because that's where the forest kind of like just goes, because that's the end of the camp. That's the end of the plot of land that the camp is built on. So anyways, we go back into the rec room, and it's loud like hell, and we're just in kind of like the front area. We're just like, and everyone's coming up to us, and they're like being all playful and stuff, like, hey bro, how's it going, man? How's it going? It's all good. You could tell that they're just really a little bit too hyped up, and we're just shitted the hell out because we don't know what the hell's going on. And we're just like, I'm just like, dude, I'm not gonna be in here. It's too loud. I can't be around these loud noises. I'm gonna get a headache. So we're like, okay, fine, we'll go back outside and see what happens. I mean, not see what happens. We'll hope that the feeling doesn't come back. So we go outside. We leave the rec room where the party's going on. And to remind you, like, 120 people are literally packed in that one room, just dancing and doing shit like that, throwing around glow sticks and stuff like that. And then we just sit back outside on those steps on the gate, kind of like where the camp is gated off, and we're at the same place looking into the wilderness, and we get that same feeling, or I do. And I'm at this point I'm like, dude, are you just playing around with me? And he's like, no, dude, I actually feel it. And I'm like, because I'm the original one who told him about it. Like, I have a feeling, and there's someone watching us over there. And I was getting this, I was thinking like, okay, maybe he's just playing around with me. Maybe he doesn't actually feel it. Maybe this is just all not nostalgia. Maybe this is all just hysteria. But it's not, because he feels it in the exact same place as I do. So I'm just like thinking at this point, okay, it's probably just hysteria. But you know that natural feeling that someone is just watching you. You know that feeling? I don't know if you guys have actually felt that feeling, but it's there. It's not actually considered a real human sense, but everyone has it. You just know when you're being, like, observed by something. You could feel eyes on you. That's just what it is. So I didn't know what to think. I've had some pretty bad experiences in the forest. In fact, pretty much every single time I've been up in the forest and it's been involved with staying overnight or just being in the night in the middle of the forest somewhere, I've always had some bad experiences, so I didn't really know what to think. So yeah, it was actually about this time when everyone started to come back in, out of the rec room, because the party was over. So like hundreds, or not hundreds, at least over 100 people started flooding out of the room and going into the gate, which is adjacent to where we're sitting. So they're kind of like making an L shape, and they're just kind of like going in the opposite, walking all in like a group line back into the camp area, and everyone's talking and stuff, and the feeling starts to diminish a little bit because, you know, there's more people around. And I'm just like, okay, well, everyone's leaving. I think everyone's going back to their cabins, so let's just go. And, yeah, right before we leave, another one of our friends, or another person who was associated with us, came and sat down, and he was like, hey, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, I don't know. We're just sitting here. We didn't tell him about what happened, because we didn't want to get into that right now. And he's just like, okay. And then, our principal comes and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing tonight here? It's time to go back to our cabins. And I'm just like, we're both like, okay, whatever. So we're at the end of the line, so we're just following everyone else now back into the camp zone and to the cabins. Our cabin is way in the back part of the camp, kind of like, because it's a long plot of land, and ours is just way in the very back, the end stretch of it, and we just walk all the way back to it. And yeah, that's what happened. So to this day, I'm not even sure whether or not there was actually something like a human being. If it was a human being, that's pretty damn creepy. If it was just an animal, I can understand. It's still kind of creepy, but to this day, I don't even know what that was. So you guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see all you guys in the next video. Thank you all so much, for getting this far. You're supporting me and crap like that. So yeah, I guess this is a story that's meant to be continued, because I said earlier, I haven't had that many good experiences in the forest, but those experiences are for another day. So I'll tell you guys those stories some other day. If you guys are interested, make sure you just punch that like button as always, and I'll see all you in the next video. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.